I've made a lot of videos recently about work, and I've made a lot of videos recently about taxes, because I think it's a really interesting thing. Why do the hardest working people get punished the most? And on a recent video that I made speaking about this, we had a lot of people in the comment section mentioning how they work either multiple jobs, long hours, or run businesses, and they get taxed extra for this. Now, I think this is crazy for a number of reasons. The main one being these are the people who give or contribute some of the largest amounts to society and the economy. I mean, think about this realistically. Small businesses are huge. They're something that can grow into a big business, but in places like the UK, I've heard of a lot of people who have businesses and they don't want to get over their £85,000-90,000 threshold mark because they don't want to have to pay 20% of their revenue in VAT. I've seen people who would be working extra hours. They don't want to do it because they're going to be getting overtime work and they're keeping 50-60% of their pay. The rest of it's going to tax. And I think this is crazy on both fronts. Because say what you want about tax breaks for the richest, that is pretty unfair. But your average working person who wants to do better for themselves does appear to get punished more the more they work. And I think this is ridiculous. It's something that I said about the other day, and a lot of people kind of agreed with this as a concept. Why do we not introduce zero tax on overtime? And then people might say, why? Well, think about it. These people are already paying their income tax anyway. Everything else that they're doing is obviously to benefit themselves. Do you think people really work overtime to pay more tax? Do you think that's what people think? Do you think people pick up an extra 12-hour shift saying, yay, at least I can pay £60 to the government? No one says that. No one thinks that either. People are doing it because they want to see themselves do better, they want savings, they've got kids to look after, and they get to keep less and less of that money. Now here's where I don't understand the tax system, and maybe I'm just being stupid again, but tell me if you agree or disagree. We pay tax on everything, so we make our money, the government will get that in tax, and what I mean by that is we all spend. Say what you want, we all spend. Even if it's just on the costs of getting to work. You spend on bus fare, train fare, fuel, and all of these things are taxed. Our cars are taxed in fuel duty and VAT. And of course road tax, vehicle excise duty. Your money that you earn through overtime will be taxed either way. It'll be taxed at some point in the tax system. Whether it's in VAT from spending with businesses, whether it's in fuel duties, government will get some of that money. Probably quite a bit. But this is what I've seen with a lot of people, not just people that I know, myself included, but a lot of you guys in the comments and a lot of people that I know in real life. They would be more than happy to work like robots if they knew they could get something from it. I've known of people who have turned down extra shifts, maybe 6, 8, 10, 12-hour shifts, because they crunch the numbers and it's not worth it for them. They'll get taxed so much more for doing a bit of extra work. All the while, this is work that helps to boost our economy. Think about it. The extra money that they collect, or the extra productivity that they add, we speak about productivity going down in the UK, this is why. Because people try and do better for themselves, and they're taxed extra for it. And that's just workers. Like I say, they will get this money, most of them will spend it on something, at some point. They're already taxed on their main income, so should their overtime not be tax-free, so they can feel the true benefits of the labour, not be pushed into a higher tax bracket? And that's only part of it. Then we move back onto the concept of VAT for small businesses. £80,000 to £90,000 in today's world is nothing. And I know that sounds very, very entitled maybe, and I don't have that kind of money myself, but I'll say one thing. My business is coming to a point where I'm possibly going to need to register for VAT, which is at the £90,000 in 12 months point, I believe. And you know the thing is, right? People hear that you've got a business that makes 6 figures. Someone like me, right? I'm getting to a point where I'm nearly there. And they think that you're rich. But you know what the funny thing is? Your average 6-figure business owner might make less than the average salary. Or around the average. Because businesses have something called profit margins. And I know most of you guys know this, and I'm not saying it to sound patronising to you, I'm saying it to sound patronising to the tax system when I explain this. Businesses have something called profit margins. So if my business makes a 20% margin, let's say, for example, if my turnover is 100k, I only bank 20. But with VAT, you're expected ostensibly to pay 20% of all of your revenue toward tax. Revenue, not profit. And yet again, just like the overtime workers who drop their hours or don't pick the hours up, we have the exact same thing that happens. People simply go, I've got a business, I'm not going over 70 or 80. Because tax-wise, financially, I will be worse off. Just think about this for a second. I will be worse off for making 50% more, let's say, or definitely 20% more, 30%. I'll be so much worse off, it makes no sense, because I'm getting taxed on revenue, not profit. And again, a 100k business in theory can be turning over neutral, zero. They could be turning over a loss. Do you see where I'm coming from here? And this, I think, is one of the biggest problems at the heart of our country's economy. Hard work for your average person is punished. And maybe I'm wrong here, but I made like 3 videos on this already. They've all got over 1,000 views and lots of comments. You guys generally have agreed with me. Say what you want. People might say work is the way to go, business is the way to go. It doesn't matter. When a business makes over 80k and it's looking at getting over 90k and over 100, yeah, we're still in the very, very early stages, and contrary to what many people might believe, for the reason that I explained about profit margins, this is still a small business. It's not going to make you rich. But this might be a stage where people are starting to think about employing an extra member of staff, or where they're starting to think about expanding into this market. And as a country, it feels like, or it seems like, we're going to be losing some of our competitive advantage when we have multiple, in fact, not even multiple, lots of people who are just going to go, right, well, I'm just going to make my 80 or my 75 or my 65 to avoid this extra charge. So many people do this because they don't want the extra taxes. And then we've got the overtime and how that benefits it. These are the people, arguably, who are working in some ways a lot harder, because say what you want about business owners. Business is a very it's a very meritocratic system. If your business does super well, you get all the rewards and benefits, minus your costs, of course. People who work in jobs, like I say, they are often just the average person trying to get by, or trying to do better for themselves. But why would they do so much extra when they are not benefiting them? If people saw an incentive to work hard, work harder, they would. But overtime is taxed, sometimes ridiculously. I've been reading you guys' stories in the comment section. Even if I didn't respond to them all, I've seen them. You guys are getting taxed like crazy for your overtime. Working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and you're still just getting by. Not even necessarily because of the cost of living crisis, but arguably because of how much you're paying in tax. Then we've got the others of you, who like me are trying to run a small business, but we see you discouraged because you get past this point, you think about employing someone, which is creating wealth for the greater country, right? You're creating a job for someone else, or multiple jobs, but your margins don't work out. Maybe I'm just going to be completely wrong on this. Maybe you guys think everything's good, but I know a lot of hard-working, decent people out there agree with a message like this, because these are the people who are punished the most. We know that big businesses and whatever seem to get away with taxes and regulatory issues all the time, but the average you and me, not even trying to break the rules, following the rules to the T, is punished more. Oftentimes is proportionally paying more tax. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. This is the kind of thing that keeps people trapped and also demotivated from making money, from wanting to work hard, from wanting to build businesses. Then we wonder why we're in such a mess. We've lost the importance, or the understanding of the importance, of your average person in the hope of chasing arbitrary tax rises and figures, and that's not how the real world works. The trouble with all of these numbers-based businesses and incomes and taxes, they're very well formulated by perhaps economists and statisticians, but not by real world people who understand what the effects of this on people's psychology is, what the effects of people's life. We know what the real consequences are. People don't want to work as hard, and it's just that simple.